Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode and another week of Loving the Game. And without further ado, I'm not going to waste too much time in saying hello and all that stuff. Let me introduce you to our guest tonight, Jimmy Stonehouse. Very, very well-known coach. He's been around the world. He's been around town. And Jimmy is finally on our show as well now. Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, Jock, thanks. And thanks to all the listeners that's joining in. It's a privilege to be here tonight and share some experience with you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Jimmy, let's get on to it straight away. Tell us where everything started for you as a lighty. I mean, hopefully that's where you fell in love with rugby, or was there something else that first, had you interested in sport?
Yeah, well, I was born in Krugersdorp, but I started my primary school career in Ermelo. And I remember I was in law school, JJ van der Merwe. I played there for the Katte and Molle, they called it at that stage. Yeah, so that's where it started, and played rugby and didn't play Craven Week at primary school, and went to technical school, Ligbron in Ermelo. And then in grade 11, I changed schools to Ermelo High School. The rugby coach there was Skip Skippers. He brought me to Ermelo High School, played there, and played Craven Week. And yes, then I went to study. Gerry says, come and fetch me in Ermelo, took me to a Goudstad Teachers Training College, where I played there. Transvaal in the 20. Then, and that day, Transvaal played for the Rooibokke. And then, returned to Ermelo, taught teaching school, played for the Pumas, at that time, Southeastern Transvaal. And been overseas, played in America in 1986. Went there, played in 1986. The club called Whittier. And been around the block.
Yes, that is very, very interesting. That is something I did not find anywhere, that you were in America playing rugby. That's really interesting. Am I right in saying you were a hooker?
Yeah, you know what? I played number 6 when I was in primary school in Wenston at 6, 7, and 8. And then I go to Ermelo High School. I start playing still number 7, went to number 7, and then they picked me on wing. So for a whole year, I played wing. And then in my matric year, I went to tight head, played Craven Week in tight head in the years of Guy Kebbel and all those guys. And, and then after school, I went to Goudstad, played prop for a few years, and then moved to hooker. And my whole provincial career was in hooker from there.
That's awesome. Jimmy, so when did the coaching bug bite you?
Yeah, I torn all my ligaments in my right knee, so I had a bad injury at that stage. First got the first injury in America. A nice thing, me and Hendrik Trichter and all those guys, we went abroad to play in America.
Oh,
we
wow.
were students together, And then I came back and had a little bit of recovery, and then against Randfontein, I torn everything, cartridges, everything. So I finished my studies in 87, and then I couldn't go to the Defence Force. So I first have to go for a year to teaching at Ermelo High School. I found the principal there, Peter van Rensburg, and he gave me a teaching job in that first year, and I coached that. I will never forget it, under 14 Bs. And in my first year, I won the Southeastern Transvaal League.
Yes.
And helped a bit with the first team. And then the next 2 years, I went back to the Army, did my 2 years in the Army. And after the 2 years, and amazing, in that second year, the war was over or whatever. And then we went back to the commandos and stuff. And then we were putting into the little towns. And then in 2:00 in the afternoon, I had the privilege to leave the camp and go and coach Ermelo High School in the afternoon. So that's where for me.
Okay, I was going to actually ask you. Your coaching career took off, but just before we get there, as a youngster, you obviously supported rugby, and who was your team that you supported when you still were, not into coaching and all that? You at some stage in your life, you were like one of us, just a fan. And who did you grow up supporting?
Scary enough, it was Western Province.
Wow.
I just love the style of rugby. I remember Colin Beck and all those guys. It's just amazing but I was a province guy, although I loved a guy like Gerald Bosch. So yeah, it was it's difficult times, but I don't know why. But Western Province was the team I supported the most in my career, and I loved them.
And you mentioned names like Gerald Bosch and those. I mean, would you say those were the guys you admired, that you looked up to, that you were a fanboy?
Yes, obviously, I listened to the radio when they played, and I will never forget this backline. Byfield to Bosch, Bosch to Pope, Pope to Hoof to Oosthuizen, Oosthuizen to Fourie. I will never forget when Gerard Vivier speakers were commentating, and it's amazing. Johan Spies also came from Ermelo, the Springbok lock, Lofty Nell. And when I was a school boy playing at Ermelo High School, as keepskeepers always bring Lofty, Johan Spies to Ermelo to come and help us. So yeah, it was just amazing to meet the Springbok guy, and he was coaching us and helping us. So yeah. I always believe I had something in me changing rugby. I always said this, and some people say it's arrogant. I can change salt into gold, and I still believe it because I can see things that, it's just. But we'll come to that when we talk about the coaching. But then it started there, and I coached Ermelo High School, won a few trophies, coached the Craven Week side at Ermelo High School, I think for 9 years, and then went to Waterkloof. Waterkloof, Dr. Becker took me to Waterkloof, he and Andre Elof, and then I coached there for 7 years. I coached the Blue Bulls Craven Week side as well.
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, I actually had a look at your CV, which I must say, the site that I used wasn't even completely up to date, but I mean, it's got most of that there, which is unbelievable. I mean, it's interesting how you were sometimes doubling up in doing, what you were doing, coaching, and interesting thing, which I'm sure a lot of people that knows you and that have seen you, you obviously have a passion for bodybuilding as well. And I mean, we have to touch on it. So, I mean, while you were coaching, you were actually at Harlequins when you won the Mr. South Africa championship.
Yeah,
and then the following year, you went to Mr. Universe, where you, if my information is correct, you came 6th in the world. I mean, tell us about that, and how did you juggle the coaching between rugby and obviously, because to compete at that level, bodybuilding now, I mean, you had to spend a lot of time in doing what you do.
It is when I was younger and still played rugby, I was always in the gym, loved the gym. But at that stage, I was more than an arm wrestler. And 1992, they had the squadron rump competition. I've competed in that. So I loved that. But I always was well built in those days. And then I was standing next to the swimming pool. I will never forget it, in Bud Blast. And then a guy asked me if I compete. I said, no, I'll never take a razor and take the hair off my legs, because I will never do that. And then he said, no, you're wasting your time. And he said, listen, we will sponsor you if you compete. And then, the next week I thought about it and start training, start using the different supplements they gave me. And the other thing for me was wearing that small, like a spear. That's joke. I joke and said I have to. I'm not going there, but anyway. I start competing, and it's really amazing. It's the first time I've competed. You learn all the stuff from people saying, do this, do this. One guy told me you must eat a packet of chips, and then you swallow glycerine, and that will bring out your veins. And then I started with all that. And on the first day, I went to compete in I think it's Brakpan, I'm not sure. And standing there on the stage, didn't know where to put what on my body at that stage. My wife brought somebody to spray paint me brown, and then we got to that competition, and then everybody is dark brown and I'm just brown. And then the guy said, listen, you're not ready for this. And then we said, listen, where do we go now? They know you can buy all this paint here at the back. And then we went to the back of the curtains, and there's all this bodybuilders taking stuff, and they rub themselves and they get dark brown. So we got in there and do that as well. And everybody's got weights and red lights where they warm up their body, and I didn't know what's going on. But anyway, and then suddenly I start feeling sick. because of this chips and this glycerine. And I went onto the stage, and there's a pose they call most muscular pose. And when I did that pose, then suddenly I vomit all over the stage. And then someone, and then on the stage I said, now I'm finished and it's over and done. And I ran back and I opened the shower and get in the shower and just wash. And then they said, no, the judges want you to come back on the stage. And there again, and they come with this call most muscular pose, and I vomit again, and it's a towel, and they clean everything up. And I came third in that competition. And when I walked off the stage, clean up, and as soon as I got out of the city hall, the guy came to me and said, listen, man, I want to help you with this. There's something you do wrong. And he helped me again. And the second competition, I threw up again, but I came first. And the third one, as soon as I do that muscular pose, all the judges pick up their towels like this. And luckily it didn't happen for me. And I won that, and I won 11 in a row. And then I went to France and Perpignan and came first. I came sixth in Perpignan at Mr. Universe.
Geez, who was competing at that specific Mr. Universe, just out of interest? Because we all know Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think he won it. Geez, I don't even know how many times. I'm not even going to guess.
Listen, there's something you must remember. There's a difference in amateur bodybuilding and professional bodybuilding.
Okay.
And if I will stand next to Lothar Ringo or Arnold Schwarzenegger, I will look like a Mickey Mouse, because those guys is double the size. And I can show you photos now. Even at that stage, I was 114, but you cannot compare to that. That's something different.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, so back to coaching, and you were doing juggling this in between while you were at Harlequins, if my dates are correct. So obviously, I don't know what the club scene was at that stage, but just going through your CV, you were at Hoërskool Ermelo, where it mainly started for you. Craven Week at the same time. How did you get into Craven Week, or was it just a matter of, the best coach in the region at that stage? I actually don't know how the selection process works for coaches.
Yes, obviously, I was a youngster at that stage, and my teams did very well. So I don't know how they came to the position where they pick you, but it's the same as nowadays. The guys that's doing good in their schools, and I think that's the guys that they pick, or the guys they interview with and talk about the knowledge and how will the structure of the game. So obviously I get into that, and had a few great years at Craven Week with the Southeastern Transvaal team, and obviously went to Waterkloof. But before I went to Harlequins, if I'm correct, in 1999, the Russians came to South Africa, and they trained at the police college, and then Tabu Thomas was still at the police college, and then they needed someone to coach the Russian team. And then I decided I will do it, but I did it 5 o'clock in the morning and late in the afternoon because the weather is too hot. And then I coached them, and we played Tikkies, and we won Tikkies in a curtain raiser. The Bulls played somebody in Super Rugby, and we won Tikkies with that under 20 team of Russia. And then they asked me to take them to the World Cup in 2000.
Yes,
and I
that's
took
right.
them to the World Cup in France. But that stage, I coached Gary Botha and Hendrik de Vries at Waterkloof, and they were both in that SA Schools team for the Blue Bulls. And then Andre Elof was coaching the Blue Bulls team at that stage. And then I went to Russia to coach these teams. We qualified for the FIRA World Cup. And so I took the under-20s to the World Cup and became fourth with the under-20s, but not in the same league. It's a different league. There's a B and an A league because Russia was still in the B side then. So, I went to Krasnoyar, coached them there, and, had a World Cup behind my name. And so we came back, and then Russia need to qualify for 7 seniors. And they asked me if I will help them. And so I said, yes, the school was great for me. They gave me that opportunity to do it. So then we went to Barcelona, and I beat Scotland, England, and France in the 7s, and we qualified for the World Cup. We went to Mar del Plata, and I won the plate final with guys like Jonah Lomo, Wiskinstad played for South Africa, and Pichot played for Argentina. And I'm thinking of the Fijian guy.
Not Sarevi.
Serevi. He was
Okay.
playing for them, and that was an amazing time of my life. And then the year after that, I had an opportunity to coach Russia's national team. But then organize what they offered me and what is going on wasn't uh, what we spoke about, and so then I withdraw. In my
Okay.
earlier days, if somebody tells me this is like this and they don't do it, and then I withdraw from that. So yeah, that was opportunity, but yeah, I didn't take that.
So can you still
So
speak Russian?
yeah, like if I want to say stand on your left hand side, place the ball on your left hand of your left on your left hand side, I will say stan sleva plasiti match rokia prava. So yeah, I can still remember some rugby terms, but on the rugby, same with Japanese. You know, when you're on the field, it's much easier, but when you're off the field, it's something difficult.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Okay. Now we'll
yeah,
definitely touch on that. That's really, really cool.
yeah. So yeah, then I went to Harlequins. A friend of mine, Peter Swanepoel, uh, gave me opportunity to come to Harlequins and coach a bit in club rugby. Yeah, and luckily in the first 2 years there was a Gilbert Trophy. We won that Gilbert Trophy. We beat Turkeys. That was an amazing thing for us. And
Yeah.
was 3 years at Harlequins. It was the 3 amazing years of my life
Why?
because now I'll be yeah just to change that players and you know what it's just scary when you're a school coach and then suddenly people think you're going into seniors. And I had this attitude, if you don't train you don't play, and then they tell me yes but this is not school, the guys won't come. And then I say listen, then they stay at home, but if you
Yeah.
want to play and it changes because there's a difference when you train really hard and everybody is in there, and
Mm.
afterwards you have a few beers Saturday after the game, you're singing together, and everybody just enjoys it. There's a difference from hammering guys, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's about creating a great atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's everybody doesn't like it, and you must
Mm.
understand that these guys are working. But still, you know what? Even if you play club rugby, and even if you're part of a school system or professional system, you must always remember you sit with somebody else's future in your hands. At school level, if you don't pass the ball, you maybe don't make Craven week, but other guy could have made it. And at school level for me was always the thing. If the team wins, you get more teachers because you get more kids. You understand
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
those
A knock-on
so
effect.
and many people didn't always see that, but it still stays the truth. And if you look at school level now, the salaries guys is earning is just amazing. And everybody says you play for the love of a game. Yes, you play for the love of a game. But the love of a game is it not you go out and you play. Love of a game is I honor the times we have to train. I honor
Mm.
what we learn. I honor and respect the guys next to me. That's also the
Yeah.
love of a game. And people
Yeah.
seem to forget that sometimes. When it suits you the best, it's great. You can do that. It's the same with professional rugby. You sit at the Pumas. But before I come to the Pumas, I was first want to say then I was at Harlequins, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was we always sing a song, once a queen, always a queen, and I will never forget those guys. That captain, Jakes van der Merwe, was one of the amazing people I've ever met in my life. And we talk still nowadays, and it's just amazing. I think that time at Quince gave me that hunger. You must remember in 1990, I had an offer to go from Ermelo back to Turkeys or to go to Turkeys and play. And then I said no because I want to stay in school. I want to
Yeah.
coach school kids. And that
Oh,
was a big passion for me. Johan Wasserman was Springbok, Nicky van der Walt, James van der Walt, George van der Walt, Donnie van der Walt, Chris, I forget Chris' name now. There's so many guys that came through Ermelo system that made it, and that was a big honor for me. And
yeah.
and 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 the community was so amazing, good for me. It was just I couldn't leave Ermelo, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, that set me back in my rugby career from going further, but it
Yes.
put much further in life. But also the mistake I made was if you take Heineke Meyer, Jake White, Frans Lunik and me were coaching in the same time at school level, and they went on and I stayed back in school. So yeah,
Yes.
you've got your pros and your cons that you got to admit to, and yeah, that's what happened with me at that time.
Yeah, that's very, very cool that you mentioned that. I mean, just touching on those names as well, it's, just to compare. And I mean, But I mean, Harlequins, and then suddenly, well, I mean, you twice did, Craven Week for the Bulls, and then suddenly the Pumas happened in 2008, which some would say was your big break. I mean, I don't know if you would say that was your big break. Every guy sees it differently, but I mean, then the Pumas happened for you for a whole 7 years. I mean, you were at the Pumas, your first stint with the Pumas. And I mean, you bought some players through there. I mean, you just mentioned guys that were at, that used to be in Ermelo. And then you went to the Pumas and you had guys like Vincent Koch, Faf de Klerk, Dwayne Vermeulen. I mean, these are guys that played under you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Dwayne didn't really play under me. He was long before me. But,
Okay.
I like always to go to this part. Heno Mens became a Springbok, and I never picked him at school level.
Sure.
Because for me, he wasn't good at that time. You know what? People sometimes, I've got many times where people criticize me when I make mistakes. But I can tell you today, I make mistakes maybe because of the knowledge, but not because of the person. And if I close my door behind me tonight, the teams I choose, then I'm happy. Then I'm happy for what I did, because you know what? It's about anybody's future, and I won't jeopardize my future if I don't need it for my players. But in any way, I didn't pick Heno Mens, but his brother played for me, the assistant coach from me now, and Cornelis Steenkamp, who's now my assistant coaches. They played for me in 1997 in grade 9.
Sure.
Yeah, just short on that. And then they played for me, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, and Cornelis stopped 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're my assistant coaches. And I think they know how crazy I am, so that's what makes it so easy. But in any way, then I got the opportunity. Heinz phoned me and asked me if I would be interested, and I said yes. Sometimes when you don't pick someone's kid, they don't give you that opportunity. But and anyway, Heinz phoned me and he gave me that opportunity. And in the first year we trained only in the evening at a combi driving from Pretoria. And then what I did was I phoned all the ex-Waterkloof and Offie boys who played for me in Craven Week level. I will never forget a guy like Torsten van Jaarsveld, who's playing for Namibia. He's now overseas playing. He was a Cheetahs captain. He was standing next to me at a rowboat on a bicycle. And I said to him, Torsten, how are you? He said, no, coach, I'm fine. I said, what do you do? He said, no, I'm playing at Tikkies. I'm staying here. And they said, don't you want to come and play for the Pumas? I'll give you 6,000 rand a month. And that next Monday, he joined in. And Torsten van Jaarsveld, he never has to look back again. So if you can just imagine where he is at the moment. But there's a few stories. Corneille Fourie playing for Western Province, went to Japan now, played for Tikkies. Played for an interesting story about Corneille Fourie. He was in Waterkloof. I was a teacher, and then Waterkloof, we decided to start a rugby academy. Okay. And then I started the rugby academy, do some footwork videos, did a book, academic book on what you're supposed to know in grade 8 and grade 9 for players. And he was in that team, but he didn't play under 14A in Waterkloof. But he got 5 trophies at the awards evening from me. And then some people said, but this kid is playing in 14D. And I said, yes, he's going to play SA Schools and Matric. And he did play SA Schools and Matric. And I mean, even Corneille. Then Corneille played at Tikkies. He was the Lucet prop, and Vincent Koch was Lucet prop. So I saw them play there. One played one half, the other one played the other half. And then I made them an offer to come to Pumas. And then amazing to, nearly said boys, amazing to men. Playing for me, we just loved it. And then I said to Vincent Koch one day, I'm going to move you to tight tech. And he said, Coach, I'll never make it. If I can't play Lucet, I will never play. So listen, just give me a year. And I moved into tight tech at the Pumas. In that first year, he played tight tech. Stormers asked him to come that next year to play Super Rugby for them. And it's history. He became a Springbok. Roscoe Speckman, a 7th player, see him at Club Rugby, brought him. Cannot stop where he ended. Faf de Klerk played for me at Waterkloof. Couldn't get a contract at the Lions and a 20. Couldn't make the varsity cup at Tikkies. Phoned his dad too. We said, listen, bring him halfway. Marius Forensberg, my team manager, will go and fetch him. He and Johan de Tooy went and fetch him, bring him to the Pumas. And the history is there. Ozer Kasim, There's so many guys. It's just amazing. But the thing people doesn't understand, you must say if I want to stop, I'm talking so much.
No, please carry on.
The thing that people doesn't understand is if you look at the system in South African rugby, when you didn't make it at a big union, you would go to Falke, SVD, Griffins, Leopards, and you finish your last few years in rugby because you're going out now. And when I came to the Pumas, for me, that wasn't in any sight for me. For me was the Pumas got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to the guys, if you're here and you think this is your last 2 years, you got to get the hell out of here now. Because this is not going to work for you or me. If you want to be here, you want to go somewhere, or you're taking me somewhere and the team somewhere, we will make it. You know, a good example is Stefan Watermeyer. He was at the Bulls. He had problems there. He went overseas, and then he had nowhere to go. He played for me at Waterkloof. I brought him back to the Pumas, played a year for me, boom, back into Super Rugby. And, you know, sometimes it's about discipline in life. It's, you know, I sometimes get so hurtful if I open the newspaper and I see Jimmy Stonehouse is a difficult guy, or Jimmy Stonehouse is this, or Jimmy Stonehouse is that. You're difficult because somebody doesn't adhere to the rules when you're difficult. You know, it's when you're at the Pumas and you want to go somewhere by yourself, you don't belong anywhere. But if you take the Pumas somewhere, you will go somewhere. But if you want to take yourself somewhere, you won't make it in life. And unfortunately, rugby is so short stint in your career. It's what you're going to do after rugby. And you know what? If you cannot do rugby what you love, and it's a sport with all your potential, how will you go and sit in an office and do work? And for me, that's one of the amazing things in life.
Tell me, Jimmy, I mean, you've mentioned so many big names. How was it every time that those players would come to you and say, Coach, I'm going somewhere else?
You know what, Jock? What if the big unions do not buy our players, then there's something wrong. You know, if you got a business and you don't go forward and the staff stays the same and you don't make money and you don't, something is wrong.
Yeah.
But if they buy your players, then at least your coaching staff is doing something right. The nice thing is they already come from big unions. They didn't make it. Now they're buying them back. That's a nice thing. But the bad thing is you don't get continuity. You have to start all over. But you know, when you have a budget like ours and you don't, you know, people got cross with me. If you look at the Bulls now, if you take our sponsors, it's amazing people. I love them. They really put their hands in their pockets for the Pumas. But you know, in this COVID time, some of their businesses, they do not work. So they don't make money. But Vodacom is just going forward. So I can understand their point, Jake and Alistair and whoever, because they're just making money and money and money. But we're not in that situation, you know. So money will always be a factor. It will always. If you want loyalty, you buy a dog. The only difference is I don't want to see in the media you sign somewhere. I want you to come and sit in front of me and say, listen, coach, I'm going somewhere. Because then at least I taught you something.
Yes.
Then at least I taught you something. Because in your career forward, being with other job and stuff, you got to face people. And there's nothing wrong to go to another union. It's the way you go.
Yes.
That's the thing for me that sometimes bites me. It's in a manner you go. You know what? It's strange, but if I don't go, there's something wrong. So, and we had so many changes in players, but you know what? It's the same with us. We cannot just take any player. The one we take must play, and hopefully he goes somewhere. And if he goes somewhere and a team wins, hopefully the assistant coaches go somewhere, because that's the way life is.
Yeah.
But my loyalty to the Pumas is so big and so amazing. It's just. And the nice thing for me is the players, they enjoy it here. I know they talk a lot to me and to the other coach and say, yes, coach is tough and coach is this and coach is that. But you know what? It's you got to be tough. You got to, you know, they say tough people last, but tough times don't. Life is tough. If you want to make it going forward, you got to adhere to the rules. And if I let you go with one thing, it's wrong. If we set a standard, if we set rules, and I just change them every day by being nice, it's something wrong. But what I do know is my players never miss out when they need something or need help or whatever to come to me. So if I'm that bad guy, they won't come. So at least I measure it by that. But yes, I'm tough, and yes, I don't bend for certain things. What the rules is the rules. And I know agents tell me sometimes, yes, but you think like this, and I don't think for me. I think for 40 other players, and I think for the union. And the players must always remember there's guys that's investing in them. And I think some people just think, oh, it's just money somebody gives away or somebody. It's not.
No.
It's some hard-earned money that put it in for someone to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And they must understand that. And for me, that's what the Pumas is about. We don't have a cent to waste. We don't have a luxury. People don't understand that. You know what?
Exactly.
If you look at Currie Cup rugby, you fly to Griquas. You play. Now there's not a flight back tomorrow. Or there's only one on Sunday. We don't have the money to stay another night over. You got to get on a bus. We travel the whole night. Here 7 o'clock in the morning. Now you have to train Monday again. Other guys fly in, they fly out. They got 1 extra day rest. Unions, it's easy when you got the money.
Yeah.
But when you don't have it, there's different ways and measures you have to work about it.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes I look at unions and then they lock get injured, and then they quickly bring someone from France, or they quickly bring this one, or you don't have it.
Yeah.
That's why you've got to coach. You've got to coach. You've got to change someone. You know, people got cross for me. It changed a bit now, and I say this with so much passion in it, because it's the truth. And I measure it with school level, the same as professional rugby.
Yeah.
They show me the names of coaches coming out big schools, big name schools, that coach professional rugby. And people get cross with me. If this one doesn't play, you pick the next one. This one doesn't play, you pick the next one. But at a small school, this guy got injured. I have to make and mold another one. That's coaching.
Yeah.
You got to know rules. You got to know the technique. You got to change them. It's easy when you're in the big school, and you can go back in your history. Go and look at all the coaches. And I don't talk about Jake White, because JP is not a big school. Talk about big schools. A Paul Ruiz, a Bishop, Paul Jim, Office.
Yeah.
Where are they? And people get cross with me about that. But that's unfortunately the truth. And unfortunately, professional rugby, for me, sometimes it's somebody's on top and they pick who they can work with.
Yeah.
There's always sometimes afraid that somebody will question them. That's the big thing. You got to pick the best people to make the best out of the players. And I may be right or I may be wrong, but it's unfortunately the way I feel about it. So,
Yes, I love your passion. It's awesome. I mean, talking about passion, I read an article today. I think it was when you were still with Ermelo, and you guys beat. I think you beat, in fact, Waterkloof, or no. You beat Rustenburg or somebody, but you came second in the league. And then, I mean, in the article, it said there, well, it was obviously there was a picture, but I couldn't see the picture. But the description of the picture mentioned that you were standing with the captain, and you was bavua. I mean, and anyone that understands Afrikaans means you were basically crying. And I mean, a lot of us that have watched Currie Cup rugby and Super Sport Challenge and all these other competitions where you've been part of, we've seen your passion. I mean, it is unbelievable, with that last minute try or something that gets you guys over the line. I mean, you're standing there, the veins are going. I mean, you are so passionate about what you do. And, to do it after, your career is spanning 30 years this year, if my information is correct, which is a hell of a long time, I think, for a lot of coaches. And I'm sure you're not the only coach, obviously. But I mean, you must have had so many highs and so many lows. Take us through some of those highs that you've had, one or two, of the most memorable moments in your career.
You know what my biggest asset, I want to say my biggest mistake, that I think is my biggest asset is I get so connected with the guys that play for me.
Mm.
We're so close involved. Yes, we fight. I saw the one guy, Marius Kutzer, wrote something here now. And
Yeah.
he also came from Waterkloof with me. He played for Western Province. He played for the Falcons. He played for me. Amazing kid. One day, you remember Sean Fenter, who's now playing overseas.
Yes.
He was our scrum half. I never wear a hat. And so they told me, you got to wear a hat. The sun is not good for your skin. And now I come out of this tunnel here with this lap wiki on, and then somebody does this zzz, like a fishing rod. And then I saw it got crossed immediately, and I throw this hat down, and then the whole training was gone. Everything went just wrong. And so they asked me, please, coach, can we see you in the change room? I said yes, and they speak together, and then we went into the change room, and they said they just want to know this morning with training when everything was fine, and now afternoon that I have a meat pie for lunch because I was so cross this whole afternoon. So that's the stories with these guys, but we were so close together. It's and after games, there's not a lot of teams that come after games. We in the change room, we drink the water and a few beers, and then we go up and we sing. I got a thing, my team must sing, and we love the singing. And we go into the president's Lucy, and we sing a few songs, name the forward guy, backline guy, and then we go to the players' Lucy, where all the kids is, and all the wives is, and the fathers and mothers is, and we join in there, and we eat together and party. And then I've got a different thing. Coaches will kill me for what I'm saying. Everybody says, if you drink, you cannot become a Springbok. If you do this, you cannot become that. I've got a rule. After each game, there's a place here in Nelspruit called Jock and Java. I take my players and their wives there. Because if we go there and we party together, I know where they are and what they are doing. Yes. And so there's no need for me to worry what they do behind my back. There's only one rule. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, you got the flash out. So, yeah, so that is how it works. But, we really got a great vibe, man. I mean, it's just amazing to see how the guys is.
I've got another question, which I think is quite interesting.
Yes.
Sorry, you've touched on it a little bit. I mean, but Pietie Meyer, who you might also know, former player for the Lions. Wat is jou opinie rondom spelers se insaag op hoe die span moet speel? I mean, I think you've touched on it vaguely, but how much input does the players have? When you guys are planning your week, for instance, do the players have much of a say, or is it just you and your coaching staff that pretty much does everything?
No, what we do is we always have players meetings, and they have a committee, and they come and they give suggestions. But you must always remember, player suggestions and coaches' suggestions is not always the same. Yeah. You know what? You let players rest on a Wednesday because they got to get off their feet. But for them, is it going to play golf? So which is a good thing because they must also enjoy it. But and players got a different vision sometimes on how you want to play, because we look at what the talent is we got, what different players we got, and what time of the competition it is. You got to win. You must remember, if you win, you get sponsors. Yeah, everybody wants to play expensive rugby and playing running rugby and everything, but you cannot always do it. You must remember, there's winning is not everything. It's the only thing. And people can say what they want to say. That's the whole truth. You'll never see a golden medal given for the second guy that comes over the line. So, we listen to the guys. What we do is, even in our lineouts, we've got lineout leaders, and they decide how the lineout's going to work. Our assistant Kate coordinates will give him a few lineouts. We got Yichu Klopper and Cameron Lindsay. They will decide, coach, let's change this a bit and let's change that. Same with NJ Mens. NJ's got his idea, what he will talk to the players. And me and the coaches will sit together and we decide how we will play and what works for us. And you know what? We'll come together in the coaching meeting, and the players will say, coach, why don't we change this? Why don't we look at this? So, there's a lot of place for players to get their input. But you know what? It's not always easy because players. For me, I got a different vision on training stuff. For me, is you train until stuff is ready. If your stuff is ready, the training is short. I will always believe that. I think people nowadays, when you're a young coach, they got this thing from you get out in the field, you train whether it's right or whether it's wrong. The only thing where I differ from, I get them 20 lineouts or 15 lineouts. They do that 15. If they miss them all, they miss them. So they got to understand if you miss them, you miss them. But guys got to understand what you're there for training for. And the reason you train is to be 100% on Saturday on the field. But players' input is very, very important. But it must be also very important when it comes to fitness and when it comes to hard work. It's easy when they want to give the input and a game plan, but when the fitness comes, then everybody sometimes against it.
Yeah, that's so true. Jimmy, yes, yeah, I'm enjoying this a lot. Tell me, I mean, you were involved with some other teams as well, even if it was just for short stints. And I mean, some of them were like, it's not like, I mean, you coached the Royal 15. You were, part of the Royal 15 team. Played against the British and Irish Lions, which obviously, must have been a great occasion for you. To be involved with something like that. Played against England with the SA Barbarians, the North Barbarians, and then you guys, you also won with the SA Presidents 15. I can't remember the tournament, but I remember you guys ended up winning that.
It was in Tbilisi in Georgia. Yeah, we beat Ireland, Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, you've had some great stints, and I mean, I think when I'm a lot on social media and stuff, and when things are happening in the world, and the name Jimmy Stonehouse comes up quite often, and I'm going to touch on that just now, but just to carry on, I mean, you had a stint in Japan as well, which you mentioned earlier. Hopefully, you'll share some of your Japanese with us as well. Not that I would have a cooking clue what you're saying. But I mean, you were there for a good, 2-3 years.
3 years, yeah.
I mean, how was that experience for you?
We're starting at and with the Royal Bafokeng side, it was amazing just to play against those players and meet them and see what they do. But you know what? The thing that people must, I'll come to Toshiba just now. The thing that people must never forget, there's so many different ways of coaching. There's so many different stuff you can do. You know what? There's no coach in the world that's wrong.
Yeah.
Just don't lose. That's all. Just don't lose. As soon as you start losing, then you got big trouble.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And I always ask my players, when are you a good coach? When you win trophies? Yeah, sure. But how many players do you buy? How many millions do you got to win those trophies?
Yeah.
A good coach is someone that can get it, that what you teach players during the week, they must do Saturday on the field. That's a good coach. Because everybody doesn't have the money to buy randomly. You get two different coaches. One that can manage, he buy coaches to coach for him and he manage. And the one that can coach, he knows techniques, he knows players, he knows positions. But for me, it's if the team can go out there and do what you taught them to do, you're a good coach. And you can turn it around. When is a team a good team? When they go on the field and they stick to the plan, they do what they got to do. Because the reason why you got a meeting every Monday and you show the mistakes also is because teams didn't stick to what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the most important thing in rugby, is to get people to listen the first time. When it's going on that field like this and you send a message through and they cannot adapt, that's the things. That's the things you've got to change when you train, when you play, train when you do your training. Do that stuff. Bring it in. Take your flanker off with a red card. Bring that stuff. Same when they get in that situation, they can do that stuff. So everybody's got a different vision on what coaching is. But for me, it's only the two things. If your team can do what you teach them during the week, then you're on the right track. Coming back to Toshiba, what a amazing.
We'll get to that question just now. Carry on with Japan for now.
Japan. Richard Kahui, Liam Messam, Stephen Donald, Corey Jane. What do you want more? Franz Stein, Michael Leach, the captain of Japan. You can just, people sometimes ask me, but do you coach the same days that you coach at the Pumas when you started? You don't need to tell Richard Kahui or Liam Messam he's got to be fit. You don't need to tell them that. They earn a big salary and they know they got to be fit. You know what? When you earn a 20,000 at the Pumas and the Griquas offer you a 20,000 again, it's easy to go there. You know, so some players at my Pumas, you don't need to tell them one thing, but you get the other ones where you have to step on a bit, push them a bit harder, make them get there. You know, but if you get your 100,000 or 150,000 at the big union, if you don't work, your work rate is not good. Your technique is not right every time. You make your mistakes. You will only get it for a year. They will replace you. And I think that's also a big difference. But coming back to Toshiba, it was an amazing time of my life. Just meeting these players, coaching them, being with them, listen what they're saying, and just the attitude of it, you know, always calm in there. And you know what? Talking to Stephen Donald, he was the fourth fly-off. He won the World Cup, but he wasn't even picked. Yeah. And he was busy on the boat catching fish. His jersey didn't even fit. And then they brought him back. You know, listen to that stories. You know, Corey Jane, Liam Messing, a most amazing man I've ever met in my whole life. It's just scary to see this guy and the attitude they got. An hour before a training, they will come in. They'll do their rollers. They go out and do some short kicks and chips and tackle back techniques where they rip the ball. You know, sometimes here in South Africa, the players come in and boom, they're out of here. But at least it's going better. We got it in here before our training starts. We also bring them in to do certain stuff, and we give them a time frame after the training where we've got to do individual skills, and it's going better. And that's a big thing I learned there. You know, in Japan, they got a word, it's called karoshi, and that means that you work till you die. And sometimes my players say, yes, I think I'm in Japan because I want to work them till they die. But it's not, sometimes players got to do something out of their own. Yeah. You know, when you're at that stage where you do stuff out of your own, then you're on the right track because you want to add on. But when I always got to keep telling you where you want to go to, do you really want to go a bit further? You know? And I think when you're a Springbok and you have been there and you've done it, you always got that system in you where you want to add little, just to keep you up, standard and where you want to go to. Yeah. Michael Leach, just what a man. Came to visit me in South Africa. A great guy, amazing guy, a leader by far. And just the way he talks, the way he plays, the way he's handling the people, it's just amazing to see. And then the rest of the players in Japan, you know, you got to stop them. They just want to go on training. The training is finished. And then after 45 minutes, they're still on the field, you know. So that's a big thing. That's a problem there. You've got to get them off the field. But I learned there that more is not enough for them. And you've got to, more is not always good, you know. So, but that's one for Japan rugby.
And I mean, I want to ask you something about, I mean, like I mentioned just now, a lot of people on Twitter, even in the last few days when I mentioned that you're going to join us on the show, there's this one topic that keeps popping up, and it is, when is Jimmy going to coach the Bulls? I don't know why it's always just the Bulls. I think maybe it's because there's been a Pretoria affiliation for some reason. But I mean, just out of interest, I mean, obviously we know Jake is taken over there, but I mean, what is the chances of someone and a guy like you and Jake working together? I mean, am I touching dangerous water now?
No. You know what? It's just, me and Jake come a long way. It's not, you know what? I can work with any person. That's not an issue. I've seen in media, they say I'm difficult. And at one stage, somebody told me that's why big unions is afraid to let me work with someone because they think I cannot work with other people. I've proven it in Japan. It's not difficult for me to work with other people. That's the easy part. You must just get the opportunity to do it. But you know what? Maybe I'm my own biggest enemy because I'm spoken out. Sometimes people tell me I look aggressive. I don't look lekker. But you know what? It's I love the game, and I say when I think it's wrong or when I think it's different, I will say it. You know, people don't always like that. And with the Bulls, yes, last year or the year before last year, was it last year? I got that opportunity. The year before last year, my name was in that. And yeah, it's difficult. We had some different opinions about stuff, and I cannot just go somewhere where because I want the job and I like the job and I'm going to get a hell of a salary. I must also enjoy it. You know, if somebody comes to coach with me and I tell him you do this and this and this and this and this, how does he live his life? You know, he cannot do. I can tell him this is what I want in the outcome, and he can get to the outcome. But I cannot tell him how to get to the outcome because he's got a different personality. And for the Bulls, I think that was a great opportunity for me. But I wanted to answer by the 11th of October, if I remember correctly. And then Willem Strauss called me and said to me, no, they're only going to make the decision a bit later because Barend van Graan is going to resign later on. And then I said to him, Willem, unfortunately, at the end of October, the year ends. I still got a contract with the Pumas, but I can leave at the end of October. And the new coach has got to get new players in for him, and he's got to do his structures and stuff. So I cannot ask the Pumas to stay another 2 months. And then on the 12th of October in the morning, I wrote a letter and I withdrew from the opportunity. So, yeah.
Which was a bloody sad day for any Bulls supporter. As you can see, I'm a Bulls supporter.
Many people, when I said put me on a crossfire or whatever, you know what? Sometimes you're not good enough to be there because if you're good enough, you'll make it. And then guys will say, you already made it, you know, but you measure yourself by coaching a Super Rugby side. You measure yourself by coaching a Springbok B side or whatever. Yes, there's a lot of coaches out there. I'm lucky to coach against British Lions, Toshiba. I'm lucky to coach against England. I've had that opportunity. Took them to Tbilisi, win the Tbilisi competition. Took the Russian team to the World Cup sevens. You know, I had a few good stints. Yes, for me also, when I sit like this and I think, you know what, why didn't I make it? I can only blame myself. You know what, you can blame nobody else. I became coach of the year in 2014 out of a small union. I don't know if it ever happened in the past. But yeah, you cannot predict. You can only hope. I said once at one stage, you know, when you get into professional rugby, it's more difficult to get out of it because the coach loses his job here and then he can start there. And this one loses his job here and you're going to start there. And it's just over and over the same guys. But for me, I will always believe I didn't make it, although I know I played a big role in my union and I played a big role in players' lives. Yeah, and there will definitely be some players that's not happy with me. You will always get that. That is a thing you will always get. There was an article in a media a few months ago where somebody wrote, I'm the worst coach in the world. But that guy forgot I gave him a car that's sponsored, you know, and all that stuff. You know, it's just when...
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So there's other guys that I didn't pick, and parents that's crossed with me all over the world. Because I made mistakes because of stupidity, but because of a person, never in my life. But I will never have one regret. Maybe if I was a bit more different and not outspoken, I would have been much more further. But yeah, I'm getting old now, and I cannot change. How do they say? You cannot change old habits. But yes, man, it was a great journey. It was just amazing. And I love each and every one that I coached. It's just amazing. It's just scary to think of these players. You know what, for me, and I wish I could share it with someone and show them this. We got a Puma Legends group. And I mean, it comes from 2008. All the players from that time is on that group now.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to see those guys talking to each other every evening, putting jokes on there. We phone each other. We do on WhatsApp. We phone 4 or 5 people. We Zoom. It's just scary to see how this guys is just bonding. And you know what? Then at least somewhere something must have been done right. For all the other times when I shouted and I got cross, it's been there. I've done it. But you know what? Only for the best.
So true. Jimmy, you know what? I think, yes, you summed it up so nicely. But I want to say one thing. Look, I didn't look at your age. So as I'm sitting here, I actually don't know how old you are, and you don't have to tell me, but it's never too late, you know. And I think at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen, what the future might hold. I mean, I think I've spoken to so many people, you know, about this whole COVID-19 pandemic that's hit the world. And a lot of people are very optimistic about the future. And optimistic in the way that, you know, people will change their ways, their way of thoughts, and you know, everything positive. You know, not a lot of people. The downside about it all is, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people are passing away and stuff like that, which isn't great. But I think, you know, if we look ahead to the future, I think let's be positive. Let's see. Maybe one day, hopefully one day, not maybe, hopefully one day, especially in my books. And I know a lot of people are hoping that one day you'll be a super rugby coach, because I think it will be so awesome. If not more, who knows? Miracles do happen. I believe in miracles. And it actually makes me think of a song. I don't know if you've sung it yet, but maybe you should put it on your playlist as well and sing us, you know, that song. But no, I just want to say thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, you've shared so much valuable stuff that, you know, that I think needs to be heard. And I hope that, you know, the right people get to see this interview at some stage. I mean, this is why I do this. This is why I want to have people to share their stories, you know, what they've gone through, what they aspire to. And I want to ask you one last question. What is your biggest wish as Jimmy Stonehouse from a rugby perspective?
Yeah, I'm going to tell it to you short and sweet, because that's what kills rugby in South Africa. It's and I'm going to quickly answer you, and I'm going to take it a bit back. You know, in 5 or 6, 7, 8 years ago, where all the big unions would contract 5 players in each position, and that weakened our rugby, because then the Pumas will get number 30 or number 35 in every position, and even then we were up there and beating some of the big dogs. But if I didn't do that at that stage, rugby would have been so stronger. But what happened is they got 5 locks. So lock number 4 and 5 never played, but he earned 100,000 a month. So he cannot come to the Pumas. He went overseas because he's got to earn the living there to live the life he was busy living. So that killed our rugby. And now we come to this stage where they did their salary caps, which I think is one of the best things ever that they did. But now with this COVID happening, I don't know how many money is there going to be left for people to sponsor? You know, that's going to be a big issue. Yeah. But what I can say is the weakest thing for Pumas and Greek was, and I don't want to talk about the smaller guys under us, because they will struggle even more. If you can just, we have 2 franchises, but from what? But if you can just add, we play in Pro 14, then the contracting makes it so easy. But you know what? A guy can earn 50,000 from me, and he can earn 40 from Pro 14 team. He will go for less money because the opportunities is there. So my biggest wish is for South African rugby to decide, and I know it lies with Ireland and Scotland and those guys, the decisions. But give us a chance to play in another league internationally, because we providers for Springbok teams. We bring it. But give us an opportunity to bring better players to us and make the play field just a little bit more level for smaller teams in South Africa as well. And I think that will be amazing for people to see what can come out of our country's rugby if you got that, you know. So, yeah, you know what people don't understand, and I'm finished now.
No.
If that number 4 and number 5 had played for the Bulls or the Sharks or the Lions, he's been at the Pumas and he's been on the field and he played regularly every Saturday, where would that kid be? Where would he end? You know, but now he's never playing. He's only wearing that Google shirt for 1,000 rand, or that junior that thinks the parents think was, if they go to the Bulls and they got the shirt to wear, They may. Send them to
Yeah.
a small union. Send them to a small union. Give him opportunity to play, and after 3 weeks, he's ready to go. And that's what parents are supposed to hear. Don't look at that big union. You know what? You can play Craven Week. It means nothing. It's where you end in your rugby career that counts. So yeah, send them to a small union. Let them play, and they will get somewhere. But Pro 14 or whatever for the Pumas, I think that's and bring back a double round carry cup. I mean, that's a thing that for me is one of the biggest things at the moment to happen.
I'm glad you touched on the Curry Cup, even though just briefly, but that is, I think, we're all crying for. Bring back the old Curry Cup the way I grew up with it in the 80s. I mean, there was no better competition in the world. And I mean, honestly, I think at this moment in time, that's all we would love to see at this stage. I mean, never mind Super Rugby. Curry Cup is the old way the Curry Cup was played. That is the way we want to see it. Jimmy, yes man, baie dankie vir vanaand. Jy was 'n ster gewees en dit is so great gewees om jou stories te hoor en jou passie met ons te kon deel. I mean, jou passie is ongelooflik. En hou dit so. Moenie opgee nie, man. Never give up on your dreams and maybe one day, jy weet kan ons jou ergens sien, jy weet op nog 'n hoër vlak in Suid-Afrikaanse rugby. Want ek dink op die einde van die dag, almal weet waartoe jy in staat is. Die manne met hulle houdings moet hulle trots sluk en aanvaar dat rugby is 'n wensport en is 'n sport wat mense na mekaar toe bring. And at the end of the day, that's all you told us tonight is that's your dream, just to make people better. And jy weet, ek glo in jou en baie dankie vir jou tyd. Ek waardeer dit ongelooflik baie.
Ja, ek weet van my kant af, Jacques, net al die spelers wat ek afgerig het, jy weet, ouens, coaches gaan altyd vorentoe en jy kry nooit die geleentheid om te sê dankie vir die spelers nie. Want geen coach kan dit maak. Hy maak dit as gevolg van die spelers wat vir hom speel. So dit is maar ongelukkige werklikheid. En dan net vir my Unie en ons borge wil ek ook net vanaand sê ongelooflik baie dankie. My hulpcoaches, Emmy hulle, die management team, die CEO Pieter Burger, 'n great mense om saam mee te werk. En baie dankie daarvoor en dankie ook vir jou. Jy moet nog vir my sê wat is daai liedjie wat jy wil hê ek moet sing? Ek het nou nie die naam gekry nie. Wie weet, dalk sit ek hom op my lockdown serie wat ek gemaak het.
Wel, ek het iets gesê in die lyn van you believe in miracles of iets. Ek weet nou nie hoekom dink ek was so 'n liedjie nie. Dalk mis ek die potjie sommer. Daar is 'n liedjie If. Ek seker jy ken hom. Dalk moet jy hom 'n go gee. Ek weet of jy hom
ek dink hy gaan so. If I don't believe in if anymore. Ek dink hy gaan so iets. It's an illusion.
Ek gedink het. Ja. Ek sal baie sleg doen op dood vir dood as ek ooit 'n geleentheid gekry het. Maar doen hom asseblief en ja, baie dankie vir jou tyd. Jy was 'n ster gewees en jessie, dit was so lekker om iets van jou te leer. Want daar was definitief 'n paar goeders wat ek nie van jou geweet het nie en dit is regtig awesome en ek seker die mense wat gekyk het en die mense wat gaan kyk, gaan dit regtig baie geniet en soos ek maar altyd vir die ouens sê, weet, keep safe, wash those hands en jy weet, ons sal mekaar aan die ander kant weer sien, jy weet, so hopelik kan ek jou eendag ontmoet. Dit sal baie lekker wees om jou in persoon te ontmoet en never change who you are.
Soos ons in Japan sou sê, arigato onegaishimasu. Waardeer. Dankie my maat.